Hey guys, welcome back to Day Drinking with Bilbo, and please welcome back my special guest day drinker, Alyssa. Today's video is actually a request video. This is a request that came in from Richard via text message, and it was to do a pairing with a grilled cheese sandwich. And what I came up with was, let's go back a minute. Typically with the grilled cheese sandwich, I would say absolutely you should 100% have a michelada, because that tomato flavor and the beer is going to lend nicely to a grilled cheese sandwich. Because if you're eating a grilled cheese sandwich and you're not doing it with a bowl of tomato soup, then you're not really eating a grilled cheese sandwich. Now, for the purposes of this pairing, we're leaving the tomato soup out. We'll eat that after camera stops rolling. But I want to remind you that when you're having a grilled cheese sandwich, it should be with something tomatoey. If you don't have tomato soup, or you don't like micheladas, or you don't feel like having a Bloody Mary or something, slice the tomato and put it in there when you're grilling it. You want a little bit of that sweet acid with a grilled cheese sandwich, because the grilled cheese sandwich is very creamy, it's very fatty, so you need some acid to cut through that. Now, for today, with this lovely grilled cheese sandwich, we are pairing 3 different alcohols. We are going to do gin, tequila, and whiskey. We're going to see which of those 3 pairs better with a grilled cheese sandwich. Now, why are we doing that instead of just doing it with a michelada, or maybe a michelada, a regular beer, and a Bloody Mary? Because those are the obvious answers, guys. I just told you want tomato with this. I wanted to do something that wasn't stuck in a rut, because let's face it, during this quarantine time, we're all kind of stuck in a rut. So I'm trying to give you guys options here. I want you to be able to venture out on your palate and let it try new things. Hence, gin, tequila, and whiskey. Now, I'll talk about each of the alcohols that we're using as we're doing the pairing. I'm going to let Alyssa go first. We're going to start with the gin. And remember, if you haven't grabbed it already, please grab a bottle of water so you can rinse between tastings. Now, this gin that we're using right now, this is that Phi gin. Comes from the island of Maui. It's absolutely delicious. It's a beautiful sipping gin, which is why I'm using it instead of something we might use to mix with, like an Amsterdam or something like that. Any gin that you like will do, though. Then we're taking a bite of our grilled cheese sandwich. Grilled cheese is just the best, guys. It's like your childhood back in your face all over. With our grilled cheese, I don't use those crappy American singles. We're a little fancier here because I like cheese and I appreciate cheese and I like what it does. This has Munster and provolone on it. 2 different cheeses. Both melt beautifully. Interesting.
That was good.
Yeah. Shockingly good. I really didn't think the floral essence of the gin was going to
I feel like
do
the
anything.
floral essence lessened with the grilled cheese.
It became more of a... This is going to sound really weird because there is 0 carbonation in gin, but it became more of a carbonated beverage. Somehow, the cream and then that juniper just did this explosion of dance on my palate. That was actually quite lovely. And honestly, I thought out of the 3 alcohols we were trying to... I was trying to throw one in there that's going to shock her, and gin was it for this. I did not think that was going to go well, and it actually went lovely. All right, we're going to move on to tequila now. If you recall from the last time you saw me do tequila, we just used the Kirkland brand. It's delicious. And it's super inexpensive, and it's actually a very yummy sipping tequila. And this is coming from someone that doesn't particularly care for tequila. Oh, I love the nose on this one, though. Oh, this smoky's going to do something. What do you think?
It was okay. It wasn't...
I preferred the gin.
Yeah, I preferred the gin.
I do feel like the tequila became more smoky with the cheese. Yeah. And that's probably actually the Munster. And the provolone, actually. The provolone's a smoked cheese, too. That's just blended. So that did do something on my palate. It just wasn't something I particularly want to do again. It wasn't bad, per se. It just wasn't great. I wonder if we had had that one first, if we would have been like, oh, this is really interesting, and then we went on to the gin, if it would have had a different result. But, you know, I mean, it wasn't horrible.
No.
Okay, before we start the third one, we're going to talk a little bit, because I'm actually using a brand new alcohol in the series for you guys, and it's Canadian whiskey. And the reason that I don't typically use Canadian whiskey is Canadian whiskey is kind of the forgotten whiskey of the planet. Everybody goes, hey, they make whiskey in Canada, eh? And everyone's like, no, they don't. They do. They make whiskey in Canada, eh? Now, if you recall from our previous episode, in Canada, it's spelt without the E. It's spelt like it is in Scotland. So Scotch whiskey without the E, Canadian whiskey without the E. The interesting thing about Canadian whiskey is not a lot of people drink it here in America because we've got bourbon in America. Why would you go north of the border when you can have bourbon here? We also have great blended whiskeys. Ireland produces some fabulous whiskeys, and then Scotch is just delicious all the time. So why do we need Canadian whiskey? Well, let me tell you. I asked a bunch of people. I sent text messages out to a bunch of people. Hey, do you have any Canadian whiskey at your house? And the ones that said yes, I said, I need you to drink some for me. I need to know what you taste because I'm doing a little experiment here. And what gave me the idea was actually Alyssa. We got this Canadian whiskey because I bought it and it was on sale and I had it delivered. And it's not a top shelf or anything. This is Canadian Mist, okay? This is the bottle's plastic, okay, guys? It's not what's important here. We're not chugging it, so we're not going to have that hangover experience. That's really, the distillation's really what has to do with what gives you that hangover, right? And the way that it's made. So those bottom shelf ones are traditionally giving you a hangover. As long as you're not chugging it, you're going to be okay? So don't worry about buying cheap Canadian whiskey. Now, Alyssa took a sip and she goes, I can't place this spice. And that triggered that idea, and I was like, I wonder if other people can place spice. So I sent text messages out, and I said, tell me what you taste. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to influence you. And I got back some answers, and I want to read you a couple of them. Just a few here. Someone said, I can't identify the wood, but there's no charcoal or burnt flavor like you might get with a bourbon or even an American whiskey, or more so Scotch with that smokiness. They said they got pepper on the back of the tongue, but there was a creamy front. Someone else said it was smooth and creamy, and they thought they were tasting orange allspice, combined, orange and allspice together. They definitely said it was woodsy. And then somebody else here, I'm sorry, I'm pulling up these text messages as they come. They said they had Canadian Club, which is like this. It's not the best. And they did warn me. They said they're bad at this. But they said it seems kind of sweet, but that bite at the end reminds them of rye. Bingo. So Canadian whiskey actually started down here in America as rye. And there was this whole battle about rye in America. So a bunch of distillers went north of the border and they started making whiskey up there so that they could make it without all those rules. And that became Canadian whiskey. Now, here's the thing. So I was drinking some last night and I was drinking with Alyssa. I said, have you figured out that spice yet? Have you figured out that spice? And then I ate a piece of sour candy. Because I, too, couldn't specifically name the spice that I was tasting. And that sour candy opened up my palate completely. And do you know what I tasted? I'm going to say it right now, but I want you to take your sip first. Take a sip of your Canadian whiskey. Go ahead, just take a little sip. This has nothing to do with the pairing. Go ahead and take a sip. Okay, you ready to take a second sip now? You taste star anise, licorice. Licorice is that spice that you're tasting on there. Now, as always, what I taste and what I'm telling you taste isn't necessarily what you're tasting. Remember, your palate is different than mine. It's different than Alyssa's. All of our palates are different. It's okay to argue with me. Argue in the comments down below. Do you not taste licorice in Canadian whiskey? I sure do. But that was the spice. Now,
I actually, now that someone said orange
allspice,
that is what I taste.
See?
I taste
different palates.
I tasted orange, I thought, yesterday, but then there was like a spice to it, and I was like, that's weird.
Yep.
But that's exactly, it's orange allspice. That is exactly what I taste.
Allspice would go with it. Star anise, like I said, it's those earthy, aromatic spices that you're tasting, and that's the essence that it's creating on you. Okay, let's go ahead and do the actual pairing now. I'll let you go first. So we're pairing Canadian whiskey this time when I said whiskey with the grilled cheese sandwich. Sorry to go off on a little tangent there, but I wanted to give you guys a little something new. So, a grilled cheese sandwich has cheese, which is fat, and it has lots of butter, especially the way I make it. So that's more fat on your palate. So that's going to create this effect when you're pairing it with whiskey, right? What do you got?
So after my first sip and then taking a bite of the grilled cheese, actually it tasted sweeter to me.
The grilled cheese did, or the yep?
Tasted sweeter. When I went back to the whiskey, I tasted whiskey, so it didn't affect the food. Didn't affect the drink. The drink affected the food.
So I think that citrus essence that we're getting out of that Canadian whiskey was actually affecting affecting the char that you put on a grilled cheese sandwich, and that was creating that sweeter effect in our palate. I also do think with my second sip of whiskey that whiskey got a little bit creamier, a little bit more. The cheese was affecting my palate, is what it is. But that whiskey just kind of flowed on top of my palate instead of stinging into it like whiskey, like you want whiskey to do, right? That was interesting. What was your favorite of the three? We had the gin, we had the tequila, and we had the whiskey.
I'm gonna have to say gin.
I'm going to agree with her. I think gin was actually my favorite, and that's shocking to me because I thought that would be my least favorite of this pairing. That was interesting and tasty. Richard, I hope you learned something. I hope this did something for you. And guys, enjoy your grilled cheese sandwiches. It's childhood on a plate, and now you know that you can pair it with any of these three. They weren't bad. None of them were bad. No. But you don't always have to stick with a beer or a michelada. These actually went quite well. But make sure you get that bowl of tomato soup in there or you're doing it wrong. And since it is still quarantine, and this whole series is a quarantine series, please remember to wash those hands, stay 6 feet away from strangers. If you absolutely 100% have to go out of the house, make sure you're wearing some kind of a face mask. And it can be something simple. You can wrap a scarf or a bandana around your mouth. You're not using it for you. You're not wearing it for you. You're wearing it to protect others, okay? It's keeping your stuff in, not necessarily keeping their stuff out. If we all wear masks, you wear yours for me, I wear mine for you, okay? But like I say always, if you can avoid it, just stay home. Stay in your house, guys. There's plenty to do. Go in your backyard if you need some outside time. I even a little walk around the neighborhood, but as long as you have that mask on, yeah. But let's not be going out places. Let's not go to public gatherings, okay? We don't want to be doing that right now. Let's get through this together. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this one. We got plenty more coming your way. We have a plan to do these all the way through April 30th. So this is going to be a 30-part series. We hope you're enjoying. We're about halfway through right now. A little more than halfway by the time you guys actually see this. But thanks again. We love you guys being here.
Bye,
thanks.
Guys.